Welcome, family. Let's go, man. I'm excited on today. Welcome to the Your Perspective Matters podcast. I am your host, Ronald. Welcome to 2025. I'm probably going to be saying this like 100,000 times, only because of the fact that we are in the new year. And it's like, at what point do you stop and say and don't say Happy New Year? I think it's maybe the first quarter, the first 3 months. You're gonna consistently say Happy New Year. Then after that, it's like, yeah, nah. Around April's, maybe even around the ending of February, right? But nonetheless, on today I have a very interesting topic. On today, I think this is very important, and I think we need to be very intentional to, how should I say this? We got to be very intentional to make sure that we are defining our year, right? I think that's the purpose of this topic on today, is defining what does 2025 look like for you this year, right? Everybody has their, well, I know for me, right? I can only go off of my own perspective, right? I know every year for myself, it's been a specific focus, it's been a specific word, a theme of the year, right? Last year was my season and my year of submission, right? Being able to surrender and submit to um the bigger things over my life, right? Specifically God, right? Submitting unto his mission, submitting unto what he wants for me. And then even in leadership, right? Submitting under the person, or the people rather, that is in leadership over you, right? You now are responsible, or someone is responsible for you now. So you want to steward well over that situation. So, and even stewarding specifically was also my word for 2020 for. But I think for 2025, I have two, well, technically three words, but the first one is really two words, but, or two phrases rather, or one word and another one is a phrase. And the first one is finishing strong. Yeah, finishing strong, right? Or we can just leave it as finished, but I purposely for myself have finishing strong, because you as an entrepreneur, you as a man, you as a person that just wants to be able to achieve high level things, or just a lot of things, we eliminate the factors sometimes of finishing strong, and that kind of sounds crazy. Think a think a lot of what happens in this podcast is a lot of things that just sounds crazy, but I promise you it's not. Let me just walk you through this, right? So, with many of us, right, especially entrepreneurs, right, I think I want to park here where a lot of the entrepreneurs are, and it can go towards the 9 to 5 workers, right? A lot of traditional ways of doing things, but specifically with 9 to 5, no, specifically with entrepreneurs, we have this. We get distracted many times, right? We're doing many things. We realize, hey, I have all these different things that I'm capable of doing, right? You start finding out I have abilities of being able to do some things. I have gifts, right? Many gifts at that. I have things that I can actually focus on doing, but it's too many things all at once, right? Matter of fact, let me raise two hands, right? I've been the person that have realized I can do a lot of things. And for me, it really started before entrepreneurship. It started finding myself in God very early on, or at least the beginning stages of finding yourself in God, right? Me growing up in church, I didn't have a specific identity, or I didn't know myself, or I didn't even take the relationship of God seriously, my spiritual walk was not serious until 15, right? You're going to hear me say this often, but until 15. Once I turned 15, that was when I started to, everything that I do is now my responsibility. And I think a part of that, it's kind of crazy, but I've heard this when I was younger so many times that from the age of, I guess, when you're born to about 15, your mother or your parents are responsible for you spiritually, right? But at 15 and up is where you take the mantle, you take the the baton, and now you are focusing on, you got to do it. It's your responsibility now. It is no longer theirs of whether you get to heaven or hell, right? It is all on you. And I took that very seriously. And, but it was just so crazy where I really made my decision. Um, I think those was spoken over my life for years, but it didn't affect me in terms of I just thought about it. It was just more so, hey, I just need to do some things because my life is not happy right now. Like, if this is life, I don't want it. Literally, let me tell you, I didn't have a lot of things when I was younger. I didn't have specifically like physical things, physical like tangible products or whatnot. I didn't have the abilities of some things that I wanted to do. It was just like, man, I'm not even normal. I'm just like, I'm, I'm not like everybody else. I want to live a happy and successful life. And that was always my desire and dream. But as an entrepreneur, growing into entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is actually what really helped me. So, okay, the relationship with God helped me to find myself, the start of finding myself. But there is practices that we need to, or strategic plans or specific type of actions that you need to do and exercise on a daily basis. And one of those things is understanding personal development. And with me, entrepreneurship has gotten me to realize that in order for you to succeed in entrepreneurship, you need to have a great personal development. You need to be personally developing every single day, right? So, with me realizing that, there are a lot of us that are not focusing on finishing, let alone finishing strong. We get fatigued, we get bombarded with so many different things, and we just don't have a clear focus. So, for me specifically, for my year of 2025 is finishing strong. We're going to actually, which leads to my next point, which is completion. I actually want to complete some things. There's many things in my life that has been started, but I haven't finished them. I haven't gone to the deep end of actually completing all the tasks that's needed. I'm I don't want to say I'm not supposed to be where I am right now. I am, because it's really to help me with where I'm going. Although if I get my act together, right, and I'm pretty sure this is for someone. If we get our acts together, then what happens is we can now actually get something completed. Right now, we no longer can tell people, "Hey, I'm gonna start the business," and it never gets started. We no longer have to focus on, "Hey, I want to get a new job," but then we don't ever do the research. We don't ever go and apply. So and this is so powerful to even be able to complete something. There are many goals or many things in our life that if we were to complete it would lead to confidence. And you wonder why you don't have the confidence. You wonder why you're in a depressed state. You wonder why um, you are just not feeling your best self. It's because you have not arrived to the point where you have not even taken the time to actually complete a thing. If you with me, just say I'm with you in the comments. So I want to give you guys a little bit of my mindset, a little bit of my perspective on this as I gradually strategically do these things for my life for this year. Now, I want to start off with two things, right? The first thing is planning. I think in order for us to finish strong or complete anything, we have to be able to plan and plan effectively. Where there is no plan, you're just going to be wondering all the time, right? You can consistently do a thing, but if you don't have a actual plan, if there's no plan in place, right? What's the quote? If you don't, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's many of us. It's really that simple, but it's so powerful that it pours out into every aspect of our lives, from relationships, finances, uh, opportunities, mindset, health, all these type of different things. It pours out into everything. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So when it comes to planning, and planning is one of the hardest things I think we can all do in life. But when we start to get it together, and it's hard to us, but it's really not hard. It's actually a lot more simpler than what it is, but you have to get out there and take action. You have to focus on, hey, I want to actually do a thing. And I think let me back up because I think that the reason why many of us are not planning is because we are stuck in a mindset of I just gotta do, and it'll get done or it'll lead me somewhere. When that just leads you to just destruction, it leads you to failure. So we can't do that. We got to get out of that mindset of having all this action with no plan. If I go back to the story of the fly with the book, what's it called? U Squared by Price Pritchett. He talks about the story of the fly where there's a window and it's cracked open like about this much, but there's a fly that continues to hit the actual window and it's trying harder. And what many of us think is that trying harder is what's going to help us get to the goal faster or get to the goal, period. When in actuality, excuse me, trying harder might be more of a part of might be more a part of the problem. Trying harder might lead you to killing yourself. Like you will try until you die, literally. And we don't want to do that. We actually want to finish some things. We actually want to um, go through it up until we are at completion. So we want to focus on planning. With planning, planning has to deal with assessing the situation. So we have to back up and we have to be able to look at it from a broader lens than just looking at it from a right now lens. Yes, looking at it from where you are standing at right now, looking at it from the present is important. But if we take a step back and be able to visualize and see everything, we can be able to pinpoint where certain problems are, right? If you don't assess the situation properly, you're going to have an improper diagnosis, which means that you're going to be bringing solutions that end up becoming more problems. You're going to be replacing a part that should not be replaced. You're going to end up adding things in there that just makes things all discombobulated and extra. And you're like, what? I have more pieces than I. need now. It's because you misassessed the situation. Now you got a messed up diagnosis, right? So with me specifically in this year, um, one of the things that I'm assessing is my stock portfolio, right? One of the things that I'm realizing is I have strategy when it comes to regular trading, right? I can be able to look at a chart, I can be able to come with my diagnosis and be able to get into the trade and make money. That's cool. But when it comes to long term investing, when it comes to the traditional way of stocks, what happens is you still need a strategy. And now what I'm doing is I'm actually able to see, okay, this is what's going to generate me income by holding these specific trades, but it's also going to give me extra income. And then on top of that, because it's giving me extra income, if I do it this way, now it's literally a cycle, right? The way I have my stock portfolio now is I don't have to invest a lot. And I'm doing this purposely because I want to show some people how to do this with little to almost no money, right? Um, and I want to be able to strategically not have to invest big amounts or just not have to consistently dump money into it. Okay, it it's a way I have it where it's a full cycle where I hold the trade. I pick the specific ones that's going to generate me an income, right? But then it comes back where it just dumps money back into it. So that's one of the strategies that I'm using because now I don't even have to consistently add money into something. The money's already going to be dumped into it consistently. So that's one of the things. Another thing is being able to have intention on your income. So for me specifically, I'm looking at all the different ways of how can I break up my income source, but not only my income source, but where it comes to. So now I need multiple accounts. There are many of us that we only have one account. We're like, I'm just going to put all the money here, but if you think about it bigger, right? I'm assessing the situation. Guess what happens? Now I have different ways where kind of lost my train of thought. I'm assessing the situation when it comes to the finances, when it comes to the income. Now I'm thinking of taxes. I'm thinking on a bigger scale, right? When you are able to split up where your money is going, right? You got 50% here for these things, you got 30% here, you got 20%, right? The 50-30-20 rule. And there's different rules to it. There's different ways to be able to split up your money. But for me specifically, I just want to focus on just properly getting one of those, which is the next part is strategy, right? You have your specific strategy where now it's ways, right? Strategy is finding the ways on how to get something done. There's multiple ways to split up your income into different accounts, but you want to figure out the strategy that works for you, right? I tell my students all the time when it comes to trading that there is so many different strategies out there and all of them work. Now, this specifically may only go towards trading, but for the most part, when it comes to strategies, most strategies in life in general works. The only thing is that you have to find out what works for you. So I'm finding out, okay, this is the strategy that I can leverage that I'm good with, and then you can add on other high level things. But if you don't get this one thing done, then you will not be able to get the results that you want and desire, right? And what happens is that if we don't have a strategy and if we are not planning properly, right, then what happens is we have what we call a scatterbrain. We got all these thoughts in our head, And for some people that have ADHD, what happens is when you have so many things going on all at once, it makes you paralyzed, right? I think that's really for everybody. I don't think it's just for people that have ADHD, but I hear it all the time with people that talk about it that have ADHD. Um, but you end up having this mental paralysis. Like you cannot do anything no more, or you don't even want to do anything, even though you know you have a lot to get done. You just end up, and then it puts you in a mood where it's like, I'm just lazy. I don't feel good, and I don't. But it's more to it, you know. So I don't. I personally don't want to have that scatterbrain. I've had it many times before. I'm speaking against it, but I'm also doing some things to go against it. Because we could speak as much as we want. That's the first step of things, acknowledging it vocally. But if we are not actually doing some things, if we don't allow the vocals to be able to be expressed, then guess what? It's not going to mean anything. If your vocals does not turn into action, then you're a liar. And you don't want to be a liar in this season if you're stating that this is my season. If you're stating that 2025 is my year. If you're stating that hey, I'm looking to get into better relationships. If you're stating that hey, I'm looking to hold on to better opportunities. I'm looking to hold on to better relationships. I'm looking to let go of negativity. You don't want to be a liar. You want your actions and your vocals to be able to match, right? So here's a few things that I want to give you that I believe is going to be beneficial to you, and I believe is going to be beneficial to myself as well. And one of the biggest things, and I want to start here, is filling your calendar. I think what 2020, what COVID, the breakout of COVID has done is it has shown us that we have ample amount of time, but we don't do anything with it. Do you want to be someone that have 24 hours in a day, right? You have all these hours in a week, but yet nothing gets done. That's someone that stays active, right? They stay busy, but not productive. They're doing so many things, but it doesn't lead them to nothing. It doesn't lead them to no goal or anything, right? So I want to strategically focus on filling up my calendar. And filling up your calendar starts with um how should I do this? Because it can go both in a couple different ways, but specifically with what I want to show you guys is filling up your calendar has to deal with starting from let's scale this all the way back, right? What is it that you want to do? What do you want to accomplish for the end by the end of the year? That's number one, right? So you say, okay, I want to accomplish this by 2025, the end of December 31st, 2025. Cool. Then we want to break up that goal into 12 or 12 different sections, right? 12 different um, strong, powerful sections, right? Because it's going to be your months. What am I going to accomplish per month, right? For some business owners, some CEOs, some entrepreneurs, they do things in quarters, right? It's a every 30 days. What do I want to accomplish in the next 90 days? What are we going to be striving for by quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, right? You can do it that way as well. You can either do the quarter, which is, I don't want to say it's easier, but it seems like it's more simpler because it's less of the bigger goals, right? You split that one main one into four. Right here, I'm kind of giving you smaller steps, right? We want to take baby steps into it. So you got one main goal for the year. You want to break it into 12 components, right? Month by month, right? There's 12 months in a year. So now you got your 12. Now, with those things, we have our specific focus each month. You want to break that down into your weeks. What am I going to be doing, or what do I need to have accomplished by the end of the week? You don't even got to work Monday through Sunday on these type of goals. You got to give yourself just, okay, which specific days I'm gonna put in the effort for this week, or every week, which specific days. If I only want to work on this for Monday through Friday, or Monday through Wednesday, or Wednesday through Friday, or just the weekend, you can do that. But whatever it is, by the end of the week, you want to make sure you have this specific goal done, right? And then we break that down even further into those specific days. If I'm only going to be working on this goal 3 days out the week, now I got to break it into, okay, in these 3 days, I need to get this done this day. I need to get this done this day. I need to get this done this way, this day. Now you have those days planned out in terms of what your end goal is for those days. And then if we go even deeper, you want to calculate you want to schedule, because you already got this is how we get our whole yearly schedule done, right? um you go from 1 year with the specific goal, then what are you trying to do month by month, then what are you trying to get done every week, to the point where what are you going to do, which days of the week are you going to work, and what days what days are you going to do, and then daily, what am I going to get done this day, right? That's your daily goals. I got my daily goals. And then you just block out time. You say, hey, I'm looking to do, I want to say, let's just say 4 hours, right? I'm looking to commit 4 hours each day for these 3 days. And you just go by the hour. Okay, this hour, I need to be focusing on my stock portfolio. This hour, I need to make sure that I make sure all my accounts are routed the way it needs to be. This this one, I need to record my podcast. This one, I need to make sure that I'm doing whatever. And by the time you get to that fourth hour, you should be able to have everything done for that specific day. You need to be strategically blocking out. There's a word for this that I read in a book, and I need to read that book over. Um, it was one of the books with John C. Maxwell about leadership, but it basically talks about blocking out, being intentional to block out time. Like, it's, I super simplified it just now, but I wish I had the specific words because it was so powerful. But you want to be able to block out specific times for these things, because we have 24 hours in a day. If you don't put action, right, if you're not disciplined enough to make sure 4 hours is what I need, or maybe you might need less than that, right? Maybe you're giving yourself too much time and you can get it done in 2 hours. Get it done. Like, there's no, oh, I gotta watch the kids. I gotta, nope. You gotta even if you gotta hold your child in your arm and still get to the bag, still do what you gotta do. There's no excuses. We done did so many excuses in 2024, 2023, 2022, but we are no longer there. We're no longer, our excuses is not going to be our reality, right? And we want to take these, like I said, these baby steps into this. There's something that I was listening to. It was a YouTube video that was so powerful, and I think this hit me deep when it comes to entrepreneurs, right? And it said diversity too early can be a distraction. Hmm. Diversity too early can be a distraction. As entrepreneurs, as I was stating earlier in the podcast, is what happens is we start to realize I'm able to do many things. Just because you're able to do many things does not mean that you need to be doing many things. Now, you can specifically find out the things that you want to do and you can execute. I'm going to go here, I'm going to handle that, go here, handle that. Same way we did our goals just now, our yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly goals is the same thing you want to do with this. You don't want to have too many things going on. Now, here's another thing, right? And this is like not even in my notes, but what's beautiful about this is, and I've had this conversation 2 years ago several of times in my car when I was driving for Lyft. And there's people that want to do some things, right? But they are scared that they're not going to get it done. The fact of the matter is, or we're talking about streams of income. That's what it is, right? And the thing is, people think that we need to have multiple streams of different incomes, meaning that your incomes are not connected to each other, right? You can be a construction worker, you can be a singer, you're a teacher on the side, you train people to do karate, all these different things. What happens is it splits you. You are only one person. But if I start to build a brand, I can create easier, I can create streams of income from my brand. For an example, I am a podcaster. My podcast is about personal development. I am also an author. My being an author, it has to deal with personal development, right? It's kind of, so it's, my book is not necessarily connected, or it came before the podcast rather, right? But you can still create, which I am creating, writing more books this year, that's connected to the podcast, right? Then you have, I'm coming out with my merch that's coming out very soon. So now I have three streams of income that caters to each other, right? You can keep, and it's, you can go even more in depth, right? Like at some point I'll be able to do live recordings where now I can create a community, right? Live events and community is two different streams of income that all wraps around podcasts, right? Then there's so many other things that I'm going to be doing. But nonetheless, if you want to build streams of income, right? The average millionaire has 7 streams of income. If you want to have these streams of income, you don't want it to be where you have all these things and none of the streams of income is streaming. like you got a lake and and you got a small pond in all of them. You want a whole river flowing in all of them, where you ain't got to do much now. If one of them is lacking, cool. I got my other ones helping to pay. I got this one paying the bills. I got this one pay the flight. This one, you got your money working for you instead of you working for it. So what happens when we diversify too quickly and it becomes a distraction to us is that we have what we call shiny syndrome, shiny object syndrome. Now we're just chasing after the next opportunity. And that has been me, right? I have been focused with a lot of things and I have gotten some things done. I have accomplished a lot. I have become great in some areas, but what happens is for many of us, for many of us, we have that shiny syndrome, shiny object syndrome. We just want to keep, oh, this is a good idea, cool. Oh, this is a good idea, cool, 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 cool. Right? What's that? What's the saying we hear all the time? Can you keep your income's options open? You gotta come to a point where, hey, my income options are not open. And it's not because I'm broke, it's not because I have a broke mentality, it's because I just don't have time for it. And it's not because I don't have time for it because I can make time. is that it's just not my priority. That's it. I have other things. And I've told this to many people, right? I'm a person, I like to hear you out. If you're presenting an opportunity, sure, let me hear you out. I hear it, cool. I'm going to determine whether it can be something that I can add on to what I'm doing. It may can be something that I'm replacing one of the things that I'm doing, or it's just not in alignment with me at all. And many of the opportunities recently have been just wasn't it. It just wasn't aligning with me. And it's okay, right? Because you want to have intentional focus. You want to be intentional with narrowing what it is that you want to focus on. You got to be able to block out the noise. It's okay that people present these opportunities and you might need money in the moment, but it's really not helping you. It's actually distracting you. And you're thinking, oh, I just started this company and now now you're in a membership that you gotta pay 200 a month, but you're struggling with your current bills already. You need more income. What are we doing? Or you need to eliminate some bills. What are we doing? Right? So I want to talk. We're about to park this, right? We're about to end soon, but I want to give you some things of understanding the mindsets of where we need to transition from and to, right? One of the mindsets is changing from being a hustler to being a boss, right? There's so many of us that are hustling, but we're not making boss moves. When you are a hustler, you know how to get to the bag or you know how to get some things done, but we fail to have what I was telling you in the beginning, the plan, the planning, which is assessing the situation. We don't assess how we're hustling and we don't have strategy. We just go out, "Oh, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And it's only going to you're actually going to limit your money. You're actually going to not be able to be as successful as you fully thought. Or you thought that this was success and it's really not. You're like, you know what, I just made $1,000 and that's complete success. But in fact, you're not in profit. Now, if you transition into being a boss, making boss moves, you start to assess these things. Okay, even though I made $4,000 this year, or not this year, wow, $4,000 this month, how much of it am I in profit? What are my expenses like? What are my bills? Hmm. Where's my money? If I'm not in profit, if I got $4,000 made and I'm not in profit, where is all the money going? Those are boss moves, but they want to make sure because it's not about making the money all the time. It's about keeping it. How much more hustlers are focused on making the money while bosses are focused on keeping the money, keeping more of the money. So are you keeping more of the money, right? The other mindset, which I can relate to this so much, is being changing from a dreamer to an executor. Mm. And I know if my pastor is seeing this, he's like we've had some very uncomfortable conversations, and he just be talking. I just be like, man, why you gotta talk to me this way, man? Nah, he not talking to me disrespectful. He just know what he talking about. That's really what it is, and I feel him on it 100%. And I'm just like, why you in my back? Why? Why? Just get out of my back. But nonetheless, right? I am a big dreamer. I am also an executor, right? And I was telling people this before in one of my episodes of there's two types of people. There's the visionary and then there's the executor. And with the visionary and the executor, many of us, you will always be more of one, right? There's some of us that are both. There's some of us. that we think that we are equally a visionary and an executor, but you will always be more of one of the two if you are both, right? I am a visionary and an executor, right? I'm a dreamer slash visionary and an executor, although I am more of a dreamer. And I had to realize that. And because I realized that, it allowed my life to flow so great, although it comes with its challenges. Because if I don't add in my execution, let alone fast execution, it'll stay a dream and never become reality. Which brings me to my next one, which is changing from written notes to obtaining the manifestation. I would never be able to see it and actually touch it physically if it only stays on paper. I have to execute, I have to take in some action, not take in, I have to take action on these steps. Are you willing to assess the situation? Are you willing to find other ways of how to get something done? In fact, some people get stuck on strategy because there's been other people's strategies that are not no longer working, or they may no longer be relevant, or they're just not working for me. So you get stuck on, hey, this is the strategy, this is what I'm used to. So you continuously do those things and get the same results. When you have to realize there are multiple strategies, there's multiple ways of getting one thing done. Don't get stuck on a failing strategy. Don't get stuck on a strategy that doesn't move you or allow you to do um execute, right? And there's three things that if we don't change our mindsets, these are the three things that'll happen. Number one is it hinders you from going deeper. You don't get to assess properly. You don't get to figure out the full problem. You don't get to have a deeper joy for it because of the fact that you are stuck on dreaming, right? You're stuck on doing too much so you're not really your mind is not there. As a hustler, your mind is going all over the place, right? And then you don't do anything with the notes that's written. You have to do some things. You have to go into implementation. Number two is if you stay in those mindsets, what happens is it limits your growth. Now, this podcast is all about personal growth. So we not focus on limited growth. No, 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 no. Growth is endless. You grow until you die. That's when you stop growing. And for some of us, we still grow because we leave what we call legacy behind. So even at that point, you're still growing. Your legacy lives after you die. Isn't that something that you want to leave with your family or leave with the world? You now have a powerful impact on the world. How beautiful is that? Like people will always ring or not ring your name. People will always say your name. So it hinders you from going deeper, right? It limits your growth. And the last thing as we close is it blocks your ability to master because we got all these different things that we're able to do. We get the shiny object syndrome and we start going after all these different things that we never master the one. What they say, the jack of all trades, being a jack of all trades and a master of none. You want to be able to master something. Be able to master something. And if we can do this properly, You can master a few things. You don't and here's an added note when it comes to building streams of income. If you can have one of your streams to be one of your dominant ones, right? This is my dominant stream of income, and this is what provides. If you can create a stream of income that can help you to buy back more time, it allows you to focus into other streams of income. Now I can focus more on my book. Now I can focus more on my create more episodes, or I can be able to sell more merch. I can do certain promos or whatnot for the merch and all these different things, or I can even add more merch. I can extend the line or whatever the case may be. So it will block your ability to master, right? I hope that this episode was something that resonated with someone and allows someone to take that action. Take action in this year. This year is, for some of us, it might be the year of execution, where you just been sitting on your butt all the time, right? For some of us, you might have to just surrender your whole different type of mentality and just get rid of it and gain a whole new one, right? But for me specifically, I want to be able to complete and finish in this year. There are some things that I want to, like, there's two different books that I'm going to release this year. Um, and there's so many books I need to write that I've already started, but there's two books that I need to fully publish and I need to release, right? But I need to have strategy, right? I need to plan accordingly so it can be a successful launch and it could continuously be able to sell. Um, and yeah, man, like I love this episode. This was dope. This was really dope. Let's get it, family. Welcome to Your Perspective Matters podcast, where we focus on getting uncomfortable. We focus on going deeper and growing. Personal growth is, I think, so essential because what happens is we literally think that it's someone else. We literally think that it's this or that when the problem was actually you. So let's take responsibility on today and in this year, and let's be able to make monumental challenges. Family, this is the Your Perspective Matters podcast. I will see you on the next episode. Let's get it because your perspective matters.